Joining me right now on 12news.com, we brought him out of retirement because I just want to let everybody know this. Bruce Cooper is the only person in America to do his draft every year in August. By September, he has his full drafts planned out. He's got guys scouted that you've never heard of. And Coop, what draft are we on right now? Like Coop's version 32 by draft day, right?
About that, even before the Cardinals arrived here, it's just a hobby, something I like to do, something I like to. I'm such a big college football fan that I consider myself like one of those draft nicks.
You could just say a nerd. We call it a draft nerd. It's fine.
That's who I am. Make no mistake about it.
Coop, so what do you see the Cardinals doing at 23? There's so many different options they could do. It's kind of one of those weird spots in a draft. They don't have a lot of draft picks. Could they get more? What do you see them doing at 23?
Well, Cam, I would love for them to trade up. I just think it's huge.
Trade up?
Absolutely, trade up. I think it's huge that they come away with one of the top receivers in this draft. And, I see like 5 really, can't miss receivers in this draft. And even though the draft is deep at the receiver position, you have what I call tier 1 receivers, tier 2, tier 3. So there are 5 tier 1s that I see. And Drake London, George Wilson, Chris Olave, Jameson Williams, who is actually still trying to rebound from a ACL tear in the championship game, and Jahan Dotson. I think it's imperative that the Cardinals move up to get one of those guys, Cam, because you look around the NFL, and this past offseason to tell you something. You look at quarterbacks, Aaron Rodgers being paid north of $40 million. They couldn't afford to sign Devontae Adams, give him the money he wanted. So they trade him away to the Raiders. Well, you look at the Kansas City Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes making north of $40 million. They can't afford to pay Tyreek Hill his money. So they trade him to the Dolphins. Well, if you look at the Cardinals, they are about ready to sign Kyler Murray for like a 6-year extension, averaging about $40 million a year. Cam, they already have DeAndre Hopkins, who's 28, will be 29 years old, making top 5 receiver money.
You got to get that number 2 receiver on the young deal.
Was the highest paid until Devontae Adams and Tyreek Hill started getting paid. So you can't afford, if you're the Cardinals, and we saw what happened last year when D-Hop got hurt, you cannot afford to go into the free agency and try and find another elite receiver because you can't afford it. So Cam, it's imperative that you use the draft to get someone that's on a rookie contract for 4 to 5 years while Kyler's making his big money. It's the way to go. And if the Cardinals want to sit back and hope that someone falls to them, in that regard, well, again, you're playing with fire. I would go after the sure thing. I trade up and try to get one of those top 5 receivers I talked about.
So what you're saying is if they either stay put or go back, none of those, you don't think any of those 5 receivers will be there at 23 if they just hang out and wait?
Well, the only way that a player like, let's say, Jahan Dotson or Chris Olave could fall to them is if there's some surprises, or if some teams go after quarterbacks. If you find like 2 or 3 quarterbacks that are being drafted, in the top 20, then that will drop one of those receivers. But again, that's guesswork. I want to take the guesswork out. And from my standpoint, where I stand, the Cardinals, I don't mind giving up a 2023 first and second round pick to move up to take someone else's. I would like to have 2 picks in the first round. When I say move up, I'm not just trying to swap picks. I actually want to move up and acquire. I would give up a first and a second in 2023. I'd even give up a second in 2024 just to move up in that middle part of the first round to get an extra first round pick. Because now I get my wide receiver with that first round pick, and at 23, then I'd go ahead and get my edge rusher. Because those are the 2 biggest needs. Because as you saw in free agency camp,
cool.
Cardinals let Chandler Jones go, and we all thought that they'd go after. I'm losing his name. He was a former Cardinal, Hassan Reddick.
Or Calais Campbell.
And they didn't do that. And so as a result, they find themselves needing an edge rusher because Marcus Golden's the best thing they got right now in that regard, and he's on the other side of 30.
Coop, I can't agree with you more about a receiver. You know, you and I talk about this all the time, but like this receiving core, while better, it's given off those vibes, if I recall, from like 2017 or 2016, when they just, I think 2017, when they just tried to run it back with the same crew that failed the year before, and it just didn't work out because they didn't add to. I think it was Jerron Brown, John Brown, Smokey, Britton Golden. I mean, just a number of guys that you were just like, you weren't sure. You needed another surefire guy to pair with Larry, and they never did that. And they just tried to do it by committee, and it just didn't work. Now, while I think Rondell Moore is going to be better, I think A.J. Green is going to be better with the second year in the system, but you need another guy that can burn with the rest of those. And that's why I think it's crucial that they got to get a receiver and they got to get someone that they can trust and that can contribute and not sit on the bench or not do what Zaven Collins did last year and basically redshirt his first year. They got to get someone who can catch and contribute right away in those first 2 rounds, right? If they don't trade up, then you got to get somebody in the second round.
Well, that's my whole point. If you get someone in the second round, Cam, now you're looking at those tier 2 receivers.
Sure.
They're not that tier 1. Now, see what I'm looking at again. Let's go back over there. You talked about A.J. Green coming back for a second year. Look, A.J. Green is 33, 34 years old. He's not a receiver that can grow with Kyler Murray. Murray's about ready to sign a 6-year extension. Do the math. The man's too old. He's not there.
He's going to be gone by the time that ink is dry.
Rondell Moore, he's about 5'7", 5'8", very quick, mercurial type of receiver. But Cam, he's not going to win many 50-50 balls for you, anything like that. I mean, he's more of that slot receiver type guy. But it's imperative that the Cardinals go out and try to find themselves a receiver that can grow with Kyler Murray, looking at his 6-year extension that will come this summer. We're talking, Cam, if you do the math, it's 6 years, $240 million at the least. And you're talking about maybe $150 million that'll be guaranteed. You need a receiver to grow with him.
And it's about time they pick one, Coop, because since they've got Kyler Murray, they've gone on the defense side. I mean, you would have thought when you got the best quarterback, when you take a quarterback number 1 overall, you would think the next few drafts would be like receiver, running back, in the first round, get him some weapons. The Cardinals have done the opposite. I think you're right, Coop. If they don't figure out a way to get another playmaker to this offense, who I'll say this is on like a rookie deal, a cheap deal, because it's going to cost you too much to go into free agency and bring in somebody. It's not going to work with the cap.
Look, you're seeing that those receivers now, they're getting like $25, $28 million plus, and DeAndre Hopkins, as great as he is, look, that guy's like going to be like 29 years old. If you do the math on him with Kyler's contract, look, he'll be pushing 34, 35 years old at the end of that. But if the Cardinals wait to the second round, there's a couple tier 2 guys there that could actually turn out to be good. I really like George Pickens from Georgia, the national champion.
Really anybody from Georgia. Like when you're the national champs, just pick anybody from Georgia and you can slide them into any spot in the roster, right?
Well, he was a 5-star receiver coming out of high school. I mean, he had a phenomenal freshman year. Matter of fact, speaking of A.J. Green, I think he broke a lot of A.J. Green's freshman records there at Georgia. And then there's Christian Watson also. He's like a 6'4", 215-pounder from North Dakota State. And Cam, even though he's at a small school, I mean, he showed out at the combine. This kid is great. He's a little raw in terms of route running, but you talk about athleticism and speed to burn. Now, if the Cardinals got someone like that in the second round, either like a George Pickens or a Christian Watson, I'd say, okay. But
so if you're saying they went like either edge rusher, offensive lineman in the first round, and then was able to get a playmaking receiver in the second round, that necessarily wouldn't be a bad win for this team, right?
That would be option 2, but option 1 for me would be get the tier 1 type wide receiver. And then like with their original pick at 23, I'll tell you who I like a lot as an edge rusher.
Hold up, but before you say that, I want to point out something. So you want the Cardinals to trade up. In your history here, you worked here at Channel 12 with me for 7 years. You were here for 32 years. In those 32 years, the Cardinals always did the opposite of what you wanted in the draft, right?
Pretty much.
For the most part, for probably like 25 years, right? They always if they would have listened to you, they would have 3 Super Bowls by now, right? Something like that.
Let me tell you the one. Look, they've been here. What 33, 34 years or something like that.
Something like that.
We've only been on the same page with first round draft picks 4 times. 4 times in those 33, 34 years that we've been on the same page. The last time.
You got a batting average like the D-backs, by the way.
Yeah. It's not good. But the last time we agreed was Kyler Murray. And I think that, as you know, Cam, I was on an island with that one because everyone.
I applaud you on that.
All our media,
you called it. It seemed like the craziest idea ever, but you called it.
It was crazy because everyone in the media, all of our media cohorts, they said, you just drafted Josh Rosen last year. Why would you draft another quarterback?
We were trying to make sense, Coop. That's what we were trying to do. We're just trying to be logical about it. But to your point, you could not have been more right. Like the farthest thing.
Yeah, it doesn't happen often. So look, Cam, my batting average.
So since the Cardinals are going to go the opposite way of what you want, right?
Right.
You did something that I love, and this is what I tell everybody at home. This is what Coop does. He does different drafts. He looks at it differently. So he did one he wanted, or if the Cardinals move up and get a draft, and now this is the one where what you think Steve Keim will likely do, right?
Yeah. Look, if the Cardinals don't do anything and they just stay put at 23, Cam, I'd rather get an edge rusher at 23 and then try to find a tier 2 receiver in the second round, because now you're really diluting the edge rushing candidates there, if you will. Because look, I promise you, at least 4 edge rushers will go in the top 12 picks. Matter of fact, they may go in the top 10, but top 12 for sure. So Cam, now, and they say this is a very deep edge rushing class. Well, let me tell you something. Let me tell you why I disagree with it. Because people, they have put George Karlaftis, for example, from Purdue. A lot of people have mocked him to the Cardinals. And George Karlaftis is a top 5 edge rusher if you look at what a lot of the experts or draftniks are doing out there. I disagree completely. If the Cardinals drafted George Karlaftis, it would be a colossal mistake, and I promise you.
Like a Robert Kabdici mistake?
It'll fall in line with a lot of their other first-round busts. They're not getting anything out of them. Look, let me tell you something. Arnold Ebiketie, number 17 from Penn State. This guy, I don't know why it is that he's not smiled upon too often, but you don't find, all these mock drafts, you don't find his name in there. He's nowhere listed when anyone lists top 5 at the positions. He's not listed in there. I truly believe, and I'm about ready to give you a Coop guarantee, that this guy, if the Cardinals took him.
I don't have your button real quick. I got to find it. We might have it somewhere in storage, so keep going.
I think he could be a double-digit sack guy, a guy that could lead the Cardinals in sacks annually. And matter of fact, I wouldn't be mad at all if the Cardinals wound up with 2 Penn State guys, Jahan Dotson and Arnold Ebiketie. One's a receiver, the other's the edge rusher. But again, I think he would be the guy that you get. Now, if the Cardinals wait to the second round for an edge rusher, there's really only one guy that I really like that's being looked in the second round a lot. Drake Jackson from USC, number 99. This kid is sideline to sideline. I think he'd be. I don't think you're going to find him with a lot of sack numbers, but in terms of a guy that can drop in coverage, a guy that runs sideline to sideline making plays, you like Drake Jackson. But if you like sacks, somebody get after that quarterback, put pressure on him near about every snap, you want Arnold Ebiketie.
I always knew you'd find some name that no one has ever heard of, and all of a sudden throw it out there and watch. And I'll say this: watch it be true. And the crazy part with you, it was like a few years ago, you hit like the Cardinals' 6th and 7th round pick, And I don't remember who it was, but it was just like a name that you had mentioned, and all of a sudden, boom, there they are. It's crazy. Like I said, Coop does his homework all the time. Coop, any names in the later rounds we should watch out for? I know there's some ASU guys people would like to see. Rashad White's out there too as well. They need a running back. It seems like a logical fit. Any other names in the late rounds people should watch out for, because you're always good at spotting some of that talent?
Well, I'll tell you what, Cam. There's and I'm going to talk about a couple of ASU guys, for instance. Don't fall asleep on Jack Jones. Jack Jones, the corner, transferred to ASU from USC. You don't hear his name a lot at all in this draft. I mean, you hear Chase Lucas. Look, Chase Lucas is a dynamite player.
Would you put Jack ahead of Chase Lucas? Maybe.
Jack makes more plays on the ball in the air. He's a guy that come up with the interceptions. Chase is more of a tight cover guy. He doesn't really play the ball a lot in the air, but I mean, Chase will stick his head in there on tackles. I mean, he's gonna ride with those receivers. He'll get more passes deflected or defended than he will interceptions. Jack Jones, on the other hand, is a guy that really plays the ball in the air a lot. DJ Davidson, very underrated defensive lineman. I think he would be ideal for the Cardinals. I mean, he can give them a push up front in the middle. And then I love it because he has, and he's a former Red Mountain High School standout locally. I mean, he's a guy that can also play five technique as well if you have to. I mean, I love his versatility, and I love the fact that he's a guy that can push the pocket from the middle. So I like a couple of those ASU guys there. In terms of some other guys, look, Mario Goodrich is a corner from Clemson, and you don't hear a whole lot about this guy, but I like his tight coverage, and he's really super on special teams as well. So yeah, those are a couple guys in the late round, Cam, that I think that I would have people keep an eye on.
All right, cool. We'll get you out of here on this. Break down the Kyler Murray saga for me. When are you paying him? When the draft is over, is he going to get his money? Should Cardinal fans just relax? What are your thoughts on everything that's kind of transpired with Kyler Murray and the Cardinals this offseason?
I was so glad to see Steve Keim come out and say the obvious, say what he should have been said a long time ago. I shouldn't say the obvious, what he should have said a long time ago. The man ain't being traded. And because look, Cam, I have been here since the Cardinals arrived in 1988. I don't need to go down the list of poor quarterback play.
You probably could, and we think you'd making them up because they're names none of us have heard of.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just ridiculous. But there's two quarterbacks that have stood out here to be really spectacular and successful in Cardinals lore here in Arizona. Kurt Warner, who is on the other side of 30. Carson Palmer, on the other side of 30. Kyler Murray is the first quarterback drafted that you can truly call a franchise quarterback. Now, look, people want to talk about, his immaturity or his lack of leadership or anything like this. They don't like his body language on the sideline. And I try to tell people this. I say, look, Kyler Murray is a guy who's had so much success, never lost a game in high school in the state of Texas, the highest division. 3 straight state titles. Are you kidding me? So
yeah, I lost plenty of games in high school in Texas, too. I did it for it. No problem.
So he goes on collegiately. And so his first full year as a starter in college is at Oklahoma. All the man does is win a Heisman Trophy and has the Sooners in the semifinals of the national championship playoff against Alabama, where they lost. Okay, so I didn't even follow the guy in baseball. But if you look at some of his baseball exploits, I mean, there's a reason why he was drafted in the first round, 9th overall by the Oakland A's. So
he's that dude. He's like that talented. He's that dude.
So now here's a guy who's been used to so much success. You brought him here to the Cardinals as a rookie. I mean, he had 5 wins with 11 losses. I mean, this losing was something new to him. Not having success was something new to him. So yeah, you saw that poor attitude on the sideline. But hey, he's got a good mom and dad. He's got some good coaches, some good teammates. They were in his ear. They're coaching him. They're preaching him along. And so each year we've seen some success. And with each year, experience brings another valuable lesson to this kid. So I'm not worried about him in terms of his leadership or anything like that. Pay the man. This guy is the best quarterback the Cardinals have ever had. He's a guy that, if you look at his history, he's been a winner everywhere he's been. There's no doubt in my mind he can lead the Cardinals to a Super Bowl. And you don't want, in this league, this quarterback-driven league here, you either have a franchise quarterback or you don't. And the Cardinals have one. You don't want to be back in that situation where you're looking for one year after year after year. It doesn't work. You got one, sign him, pay him. The Cardinals are going to do that. That's a good thing.
I agree, Coop. You know, it's nice to hear Steve Keim finally come out and acknowledge the obvious that you and I have talked about for a while. I think they get this thing done in the summertime. The news today obviously was they picked up his 5th-year option. No surprise there. He's going to make $30 million that year. They'll give him this big contract right afterwards. All good.
Yeah, what they're going to do, Cam, is that 5th-year option, they'll use that.
Roll it in. Yep.
6-year contract now. So it'll be a 6-year extension. But because if the Cardinals didn't do anything at all, they're going to be paying the man $30 million. But for a year. So look, they can structure that thing and make it fit for them cap wise or whatever for the first couple of years or whatever, and have it extended later on when you expect the salary cap to go up each year to kind of help you. But look, we don't know, but I guarantee you the Cardinals are doing the right thing, no doubt.
You want to explain your outfit real quick before I let you go? Like, I mean, are you just are you waiting on the draft? Do you sleep in that thing at night? You got pants on, right? Don't stand up without pants on.
Cardinals gear, number 12 on. If I turn around to the back here, I don't know. It should say Coop back there.
It does.
So I'm good, Cam. Look, we're gonna talk Cardinals. Look, you gotta dress the part if you're gonna try to play the part. So that's how I roll, Cam.
Knowing you like I do, Thursday's gonna be a little crazy. You're gonna be in this man cave that you are in right now. You probably won't move for about 6 or 7 hours. Somebody's gonna need to bring you dinner at some point. How are you gonna navigate the Suns game at 4:30 and the draft at 5? Like, what are you gonna do?
Cam, that's just it. You
only got one TV in there, Coop.
I'm not a guy that if you give me 2 screens, which I can have here in my man cave here, I can only really pay attention to one. And so, having said that, and knowing the importance of Game 6, because I'm nervous, Cam. I'm nervous. Even though I think I do believe, based on some reports I'm hearing, I do believe that Booker will return for Game 6.
Me too. I think so too.
So they'll have my full attention, and what I'll do is I will record the draft and I'll go back and watch that. But
Coop, you spent 9 months on this draft, and all of a sudden on game day you gonna go do something else?
Man, I can't drop the Suns. Look, this is playoff basketball, man. I got to represent, so I'll have my Suns gear on tomorrow.
So don't text you any spoilers. Is that what you like? You wanna watch the draft live after the game?
Yeah, absolutely. I will. I'll go back and watch it after the game, and I'll make all my notes. Because see, when I watch the draft, I also make my notes for each team there too. So I wouldn't be able to do that for the Suns game. So I might.
So you don't want any draft spoilers. No you don't want me texting you, hey, the Cardinals just did this in 20. No, okay.
I'm not going to respond. I'm not going to even look.
Coop, thanks so much for the time, buddy. It's always good to talk to you, my friend.
Thanks, Dan. Appreciate it.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow Arizona's top stories and breaking news by downloading the 12 News app and subscribing to the 12 News YouTube channel.